Hey guys, excuse my skin right now. We're in the middle of quarantine for COVID-19 and I'm really trying not to use foundation. I'm trying to let my skin recover. So today I'm going to be talking about changing careers. I've changed careers so many times and I wanted to kind of give you guys a little inspiration if you're not really feeling like you're where you're supposed to be, or you just want advice on like how to find the courage to make the change. Just to give you guys a little bit of my experience. That's Callie, that's my dog. Just on how I got to where I am today. So a little bit of background on my college experience. I went to school for apparel design. So ever since, this is difficult because I had so many dreams growing up of like things that I wanted to be, things that I wanted to do. I'll just start from the beginning. So as a kid, I always said that I was going to be a marine biologist. So I remember there was this one little Girl Scout career day that we had, and all the other girls came in and they were like, I'm gonna be a pop star, I'm gonna be a dancer, I'm gonna be a singer. And I showed up with my stuffed dolphin, stuffed animal, and my play stethoscope, and I said, I'm gonna be a marine biologist and I'm gonna take care of the dolphins. And everyone kind of laughed, and I started looking up more things about it. And it kind of just started seeing like it was a pipe dream or kind of more of a long shot. My dad helped me look into it, and he said that the only way to become I thought as a marine biologist I would be training dolphins at SeaWorld. This is before like Blackfish came out and all that stuff. And he was saying if I wanted to do that, actually a lot of them don't have a marine biology degree, they have a degree in comparative psychology. And at the time, only 2 institutions in the entire United States offered a comparative psychology degree, and you also had to pass a rigorous swimming test in order to work for SeaWorld. And I was not a very strong swimmer. I couldn't hold my breath for very long. I wasn't the best. And so I kind of just thought it was a pipe dream. I ended up thinking that that was not very likely to happen, and then I started picking up and getting an interest in fashion design, and I actually kept a bunch of sketchbooks since like middle school, just like designing. I gave myself a challenge of designing 3 things per day, and I kept the sketchbooks of it, and I eventually thought that I was going to be designing bridal gowns. So I went to school for apparel design. I spent 3 semesters as an apparel design major thinking that I would be doing bridal gowns. While I was there, I spoke to my professors about it, and they kind of said, well, this program isn't going to equip you to work with wedding dresses. You need specific machines to work with that many layers of fabric at once. You need experience with special machines to be working with white fabric, and we're not teaching you any of that. Basically, you are in a generic apparel design program. You need something more specific in order to get into that field. So I kind of felt like I was wasting my time, and I was looking more into it, and a lot of people that end up in that field don't actually even have a degree in fashion design. So I was like, okay, like what if I don't like it? What if I get there and this isn't for me, and I didn't even need a degree this whole time? Like I'm going to be stuck. That's the only degree I'm going to have. So I actually switched my major. I switched my major to elementary education and middle school math, and I was only in that major for 2 weeks. Let me explain why. So I switched into that major thinking that that would be something that would be kind of easier to get into with my background. So I was always really good at math. I always enjoyed working with kids. I thought it was going to be something that I would definitely like. And then again, speaking to my dad, he was saying like, well, you know, your advisor told you it's going to be really hard to end up graduating on time because you have so many requirements that you're already behind on. And what if you don't like it? You're going to be pigeonholed into this career and you may not even like it. So I switched my major again to mathematical sciences. I chose this because I was always really good at math. Instead of a Bachelor of Science option, there was a Bachelor of Arts option, which required a lot less classes. They had a lot of wiggle room for breadth classes, so I could take a lot of electives. And I already taken a bunch of classes in fashion and education, so those counted as my elective credits. And then I was able to graduate on time if I chose the Bachelor of Arts route. So I ended up graduating with mathematical sciences. And then the year that I had switched majors, I went to a career fair, and they said, well, I went to a bunch of math booths, and the mathematical job booths were like, well, how can we take you seriously? You spent all of your time in fashion classes. How do we know that you even know what you're doing? You just started a math major. We can't take you. And it was kind of disheartening. So I ended up during that same hour that I was there at the career fair, going up to a bunch of fashion tables, and I got my first corporate fashion job from them. Before that happened, I had an internship. I was a product development intern at a really big department store in New York City, and I liked it, but I kept trying to get back into design. I tried to tell them that I wanted to go into design, and they ended up wanting me for product development, but because I had expressed interest in design, they wouldn't take me at all. So I ended up not getting to work for that company. I ended up getting my first corporate job from that career fair at an off-price retailer in their corporate office. And the experience was a bit of a nightmare. I don't want to get into it. I don't want to tell you who it was, but it was not for me. It was a very high pressure environment. It was 60-hour work weeks. It was traveling back and forth to New York City twice a week. And at that point I was living in Jersey. It was a lot. And I didn't feel like what I was doing was fulfilling. I felt like I was doing something that mattered a lot to the people involved, but that didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, I felt like I was breaking my back and undergoing so much mental stress for something that, like, no one was dying over this. Like, I just didn't feel like what I was doing mattered, if that makes sense. Like, why am I breaking my back over something that isn't helping someone? Some people really like it. I'm not knocking the fashion industry. This is just, it wasn't what I envisioned myself doing, because I wanted something that was going to be more fulfilling. So I left that job, and I actually ended up pursuing an interest that I had for a long time in vision therapy. So I quit that job, and I ended up with a part-time job as a vision therapist, and I loved it. It was really, really cool. It was, to explain I was working for an optometrist. So there's two different types of eye doctors, ophthalmologists and optometrists. Ophthalmologists use a lot of corrective surgeries in order to correct different visual. Doesn't have to do with visual acuities. This could be a whole other video. But basically, if you were having trouble converging or diverging with your extraocular muscles, you have 6 extraocular muscles around here. A lot of ophthalmologists will recommend and even perform vision surgery on you. Optometrists believe that you can correct these things through vision therapy exercises, which is what I was doing. So I would give a lot of different patients. I was working under a certified vision therapist. This wasn't just me. He trained me in exactly what to do. I would give them kind of a progression of exercises to do, and as they met certain exercises, we would move on, whatever. It was really cool. I found it really interesting. Thought maybe I wanted to be an optometrist. I ended up shadowing a bunch of optometrists for a while, and I ended up realizing that you're stuck in a room with no windows all day. The room needs to be dark so you can do the eye tests. And you're doing usually the same appointment, unless it's like an emergency appointment. You're doing the same appointment around 8 times a day, every single day for the rest of your life. And I just felt like it was a little tedious, and I would get bored very easily. I get bored very easily as it is. I thought it was a little too routine. And as much as I wanted to stay in vision therapy, at the same time, so when I quit fashion, I was working as a vision therapist part-time, and I was working at a retailer at a mall as a visual merchandiser. So I was doing like the mannequins and things. I was doing those 2 part-time jobs. At this point, I was close to 26 years old, and I wanted to make sure that I was having benefits at some stage, so that when I got off my parents' insurance, I'd be able to support myself with regards to medical benefits. So I ended up finding out from my mom, who heard that my neighbor had done this, that a bunch of charter schools will hire teachers uncertified if you show them that you're working towards a teaching certification. Because I had a math background and a math degree, she was like, well, why don't you just teach math? So I actually reached out to a contact that she found for me through someone she worked with that used to work in the state that I'm living in. And I ended up getting the job as a math teacher. And at the same time that I was a math teacher and I quit the retail job, I moved on to be a math teacher. I needed to go back to school to get my teaching cert, so I ended up going and pursuing graduate school in education. And I completely had to leave vision therapy behind, because with grad school, lesson planning, doing all that stuff full time, it was just too hard for me to get to vision therapy. They totally understood. They were super nice about it. They said, if you ever are able to come back, let us know, but we totally understand. So I left vision therapy because it was only ever going to be part-time. I ended up being a high school math teacher. I've been a math teacher for the past 3 years, have my certification, but then in the back of my mind, I still thought, like, remember marine biology, like that was the original dream. So I ended up just going online, reaching out to everyone I could find on LinkedIn with like the local aquariums, just being like, can I shadow you guys for a day? Can I see what's out there? I just want to know what's out there. I started listening to a podcast. The podcast is actually called So You Want to Be a Marine Biologist? And they actually interview a bunch of different marine biologists and like what they do in their specific field. And then I applied to a bunch of volunteer opportunities at aquariums, and I ended up actually getting one. I don't want to name which one it is or any of that. But I can tell you that I'm going to be, as a volunteer, working with dolphins at an aquarium. And it's just like, it's only one day a week, so it won't affect my my schedule at my current job. But like, it's going to be the dream, and I'm so excited about it. So that was a huge, long story. I'm sorry, I just took like 10 minutes of your time telling you about like how I got here. But I remember sitting in the first classroom I ever had. I remember sitting there and looking at the wall and just being like, a year ago, I was in the fashion industry and I hated it. Like, it just goes to show that if you really are not happy with your life, like, you really do have the power to change it. I mean, a lot of it has to do with whether opportunities are around and whether you have the networking capability to like have a contact in the industry that you want to get in. Some of it was just luck and timing. I will also mention that when I was looking for a different job, looking to leave fashion, before I got the retail job and before I found vision therapy, I was bombarding everyone and their mother on Indeed.com, on LinkedIn. Like I had seen so much rejection before finally seeing like, yeah, we'll take you. Like I reached out to so many optometrists asking to shadow, asking for vision therapy. I reached out to a bunch of fellows in the vision therapy fellowship asking if anyone could use me because I wanted to get into it. And it really just takes one person willing to take a shot on somebody new. Like I really had no experience in a lot of the things that I ended up in, but it just took the one person being like, you sound passionate about this, you've done your research, you seem like you know enough and you're willing to learn, like that's exactly what we want. And even though I didn't end up staying in a lot of those things, I'm so, so grateful for the people that ended up taking a chance on me. And I really feel like if you're not happy with your life, like you do have that power to change it. And like, even though a lot of things just kind of worked out fortunately for me, and I know that doesn't happen for everybody, it's still possible. And I really hope that this is inspiring some of you that aren't happy in your current job to just change it. I know a lot of people were worried about, they even warned me about this. They were like, don't keep changing jobs because your resume is just going to look like you quit everything you try. Like, if you don't have anything consistent, like why are employers going to want to hire you? And every time that an employer asked me about that, or even somebody looking at my resume asked me about that, I always made sure to have an explanation of like, this is why these skills are leading me to this path today. This is what I learned from leaving those jobs that make me sure that this is where I want to be. And they all kind of understood. I mean, I know it might be harder for people that are realizing that they want to change later in life, but I've heard of people doing that, and it still works. You gotta believe that it's gonna work. And I supported myself this whole time. Not once did I move back home. I was living on my own the entire time. I had roommates in some spots, but like I was paying for everything myself, and I still made this work. So I truly believe that if you need to do this, you totally can. And I really hope some of you are going to go out there and follow your dreams. Yeah, that's really all I have to say. If you have any similar experiences that you would like to share, I would love to hear about them. If you comment below, I'll definitely comment back. I hope all of you are inspired to follow your dreams. Okay, bye.